This bat vigilante is like a one-man reign of terror.
You don't get to decide what the right thing is. Nobody cares about Clark Kent taking on the Batman.
What does Perry White think of his latest addition to the staff, Clark Kent?
The kid from Kansas?
Yeah. Mr.
You know,
Smallville.
I think of Mr. Smallville as being my misfit child, who I can't determine what he's good at, if he's good at anything other than disappearing and not being where I want him to be when I want him to be there. And he's quite irritating, but, you know, Lois seems to like him, so I guess I'll just deal with it.
Perry is also, though, you know, he's dealing with a very different era of journalism than we've seen in the past.
Yes.
You know, he's dealing with papers don't sell anymore. He's got that
Yes.
line in the movie.
Yes.
So how much does he have kind of a clickbait mentality when it comes to superheroes? I'm just like, I could totally see him doing listicles on Superman, you know?
Whatever's got to be done has got to be done.
Right.
It is the time that we are in now,
Yeah.
and, you know, newspapers are going the way of the dodo bird, and if we want to survive,
Yeah.
we have to step it up. We have to scramble, and we have to run a little faster.
People hate what they don't understand. Be their hero, Clark. Be their angel. Be their monument. Be anything they need you to be. Or be none of it.
What does Martha think of how the world is viewing her son? I mean, it's got to be her and, you know, the late Jonathan's nightmare come true.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that, you see, Jonathan's not there for Martha to say, I told you so, this was coming. Nobody would believe me that we needed to dial it down a little bit, you know, or whatever. Because it's human nature to resent and fear and be jealous of something. If we could imagine Superman being real, it would be a very interesting response. A lot of people would be beating their chests saying, get it out of the sky,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And so Martha, I think, always felt that her son needed to be prepared for that rejection and not to take it personally, that it's the flaw in the design of being human, you know. And also, a human being with those powers would not be trustworthy.
The world needs to know what happened and to know what he stands for. That kind of power is very dangerous.
What does the senator think now of Superman and of the state of the world now, this being coming down from the heavens? It's a lot for much more than any public official, I'm sure, would like to deal with. So.
Well, you know, I mean, I think, you know, it's interesting because when at the beginning of this movie, Superman is in the thick of chaos. I mean, mayhem that's breaking out with destruction and death and injuries, and I mean the collateral damage is something to contend with, and he is a force of great good, and he is perceived to be a savior, and then suddenly the flip side occurs. So there is this dynamic that, like, you know, locks into place at the beginning of the movie, and Finch is there to kind of try to disseminate what has occurred, and find out what the best solution is. And, you know, the discussion of, you know, absolute power corrupts absolutely is a phrase that we've heard before. And, you know, Thomas Jefferson said kind of a variation of that phrase. And I think it's a total worthy investigation.
What does Perry, though, think of Superman and even Batman? These sort of just these guys with capes.
The
running
bat
around.
thing, I don't think that Perry has quite a clear understanding or bead on the bat thing.
Yeah.
The Superman is easier to deal with because it's right there in his house, you know, and you know, his star reporter found the super thing, and so
Well, she sure did.
So he, you know, so he feels there's a little bit of ownership there, I think, and a little protective of the Superman. You know, he's going to be a little protective of him because he recognizes that at his core, Superman really is a good guy.
Yeah.
And I think Perry believes in good guys and wants to believe in the best in everybody. So he'll protect that. The bat thing, not so sure about the bat thing.
Now, I'm curious though. Like, if he ever found out that Lois was basically like Lois and Clark.
Yeah.
Both basically, they know he's Superman.
Yeah.
It's kind of an ethical quandary for journalists. You're kind of creating the stories that you're going to cover.
Sure.
Does he can both of them, or just kind of turn a blind eye?
I
keep those sales going?
I think he chooses to turn a blind eye to it,
Yeah.
and for the sake of protecting them, because again, Lois is his favorite child,
Yeah.
and what makes her happy makes him happy.